David Blaine has just walked in. You have a great memory.
It's not true, but
You don't think you have a good memory?
I think it's affected from so many breath holds at this point.
Well, you came in. I'm sure you don't remember my name. I'm Sam Roberts.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, but you remembered me specifically when you were walking in the hall. You said, "Yeah, I met you when I was upside down." So now?
But it's not. You're also not hard to remember. That's for sure.
You think that is it the hair?
Yeah, I think you definitely I would never forget you. That's for sure.
That's good to know. That makes me feel warm. That makes me feel special too. You have this great. I'm really excited about the special because I feel like you're at your best when you're just doing the sleight of hand, close up magic tricks.
Thank you for saying that.
You know, so tonight at 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
On ABC. It's called Real or Magic, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing your tricks that you've done on the street, but for celebrities.
And on the street. So for all different cross sections. So I spent years shooting this. So it's anybody that, like, if I'd seen you, I would have gotten you for sure. Like, and anybody that I found intriguing or I kind of targeted.
You find me intriguing?
Yeah,
Good.
I would have definitely hounded you on the street.
It's probably easier to get a celebrity to agree to be on this special than most other specials.
Well, no, because I think because part of it was I wanted it to be natural and believable and real, and I didn't want it to feel artificial. So I had to figure out a way to get to everybody almost so they weren't prepared really. So that, there was no crew. It was me plus Matthew and a very small crew. He did The Artist Is Present, the Marina Abramovich documentary, and I knew that he has a very subtle way of shooting where he almost becomes invisible.
Oh, so this was not like, hey, we're shooting something. Let me find you and we'll set up and we'll get the lighting.
There was none of that. There was, everybody on the show. There was like no stooges, no setups, nobody was paid to be on the show. It was just literally just trying to pursue people in very natural environments and then try to do something shocking.
So where do you naturally find like George W. Bush?
Well, I was on a gig with him in China, so
and so you have this idea in your head,
right? So I had a little camera, and what I did is I nailed all the Secret Service guys in the morning because I knew they were going to get breakfast there, and I did magic to all of them. So when it came time to doing magic to President Bush, they were prepared for it. So it was very easy.
Oh, so you're not reaching into your pockets and they're like, down on the ground.
No, that's right. But it's even better than that because I made them so used to it. It's like with him, you see me grabbing him and doing all this stuff that you should not do to a president, and you'll see the result tonight.
You kind of gained even more notoriety for the elaborate tricks and stunts like that. What was the most difficult? Was it, we met when you were upside down in Central Park?
That one was a nightmare. That was everything that could go wrong went wrong. That was part of the reason I had to pull away from everything and rethink everything because it was so much layered in that I hadn't prepared for. So,
did you know that you were going to have to take breaks? Because I would imagine that it's kind of a pain in the ass to then have.
Here's what happened on that one. We didn't have very much time to put it together. It was done quick, but at this point, I was kind of cocky. I was like, okay, I can do this. Sure.
What did you just come from? Like, what was the trick before that?
Oh yeah, I had done the breath hold. I had done the water tank.
So I felt feeling good.
Yeah, I felt like I can. I think I just done Oprah and I did the world record on this thing, and I was like, okay, I got this. So my preparation for the upside down thing was literally I hung upside down on somebody's weight rack with those gravity boots on. And I did 6 hours, and I was like, okay, I know I can do 64 hours. We're all good.
That's it.
That was basically it. So, but I had done like 4-hour stunts and of it. But then when I did 6, but what I never accounted for was the catheter doesn't work when you're upside down. It's a nightmare. So when you're upside down, forget all the blood.
Because you could hold it in for 6 hours.
Right.
Yes.
And I didn't so and anyway, that was the beginning of the worst, thing. So that's what made me stop everything, rethink, and try to figure out how to do something that wouldn't be so embarrassing and ridiculous.
And then the end got messed up too. Now, are you?
Oh, it was so awful.
Right, because everybody goes, "What did we just see? I thought this was supposed to be spectacular."
Yeah, it was crazy.
Are you the type of person who you see this vision of this trick that you want to pull off, and do you freak out when little things go wrong? Are you detail oriented?
Oh, terrible. And I'm so superstitious at the same time. So it's like if everything isn't perfectly in place, I start to really get I start to think everything is going to fail. So it's
so
pretty
psychologically you're off your game. Once you have to start taking breaks.
And then and then it's like, I need to knock on wood left and right, and this is going. So it starts to really compound itself. Yeah.
Jeez. And then what about when you were in the box above the Thames River?
That was one of my favorite ones of all time.
Did you want when people start throwing shit at the box?
I got so lucky that they did that. We had a plan that was like, I told all my friends that were around me before, I was like, how are we going to get people to actually pay attention to this? It's so boring. I'm just sitting in a box not eating and I said, you guys,
how long was it?
It was 44 days.
So that's a long time to hold somebody's attention span.
Right, sitting in but I was like, you guys better be prepared to do something, like, shoot at the thing or do something crazy. And then sure enough, the media went nuts on it, and they would send people every day to do insane things, which definitely were huge distractions. So it took time away from it for me. And then all of those stories became like the worldwide news. The funny part about that stunt is like the majority of it was really boring. It was just like people that were there supporting it. Yeah. So it's like the only interesting part was when something went wrong.
See, I figured that you'd be in your box going, I'm doing this to entertain you. Why would you throw things at me? But you like when somebody like me comes along and asks goofy questions while you're hanging upside down.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
whatever you can do to stir
anything
things up.
To distract me is good. Yeah.
Are you dumbfounded? Because I was reading an article last night about criticisms of you. And one of the criticisms was, he said he would break the record for holding his breath or die trying, and he didn't die. Are you sitting there going like, are you mad that I'm alive right now?
No, well, to be honest, that's part of the intrigue, I think. I think that's why people went to see Evel Knievel's. Even though they were rooting for him, they kind of wanted to see the crash.
Of course,
I think there's something about human nature that drives you towards wanting to be there if something goes wrong.
Do you know when you're doing street magic, which audiences to go to? Like, do you know by now, like, for whatever reason, black people go fucking crazy for magic?
Well, I have to be honest. It's very specific. It's like, you go after lots of people, and you might think that they're going to have great reactions, and their reactions might be internalized, and sometimes that's just as good. So it's not like you can't really generalize that much. So you can't say, well, this group of people are Puerto Ricans or Asians or Jews. It doesn't work that way. It's like you could and that's where I came up with the idea for street magic. And I'll tell you how it happened. I was 18 years old, and I was hired by I was doing magic for Diane von Furstenberg's house as a kid, and her son Alex von Furstenberg. I was doing magic to him, and his reactions were amazing. And even though I act like I'm not responding when people are reacting, I stay pretty stone-faced. I'm like jumping inside. That's like, that's what you thrive off of.
Yeah.
Like when you do something, the audience. So, and then I got in trouble for something. So I ended up spending the weekend in central booking. And the first thing I did was grab the deck of cards off the floor from the big guys playing spades, and I started doing magic to them. And they all started jumping around, going nuts. And I was like, wow, this reaction is the same as this. And it's just like one is jail, the other is like a really amazing house that I have never been to anything. And I was like, that's what the show is. I want to show the common thread between all different people from all walks of life. And that was the goal with street magic.
Have you ever blown it in the middle of a trick? Like to somebody, no, I just saw you put the card right in the right place at the deck.
Well, the cool thing about being a magician is nobody knows where you're going with it. So even if they think they see something, if you can just play like they didn't, it doesn't matter because they don't know.
So you have to be able to be like, okay, I messed that part up, but
I think that's why magicians get uncomfortable performing for magicians, because magicians do know when you messed up.
Like Penn Jillette will be there to be like, no, Dave, that's not how that trick goes at all.
I'm sure he's there every day doing that.
But there's never
any chance he gets.
There's never been a moment where the trick has gone wrong?
I think that the big moment was one we discussed. Yeah.
Except that big one.
Yeah, I think that
There's never been one of the small time ones where it's like you drop the deck of cards or something and it's just, you panic. Were you happy with Electrified?
I personally was, but I mean, I think it could be interpreted different ways. But me personally, I was happy that I didn't get lung cancer. Something awful didn't happen from breathing O3 or.
Well, and that's like when people saw it, they're like, he's not going to get electrocuted.
Yeah, it's so
you're
crazy.
Like,
I was getting shocked the whole time because my legs started expanding and it started ripping through the chainmail. So the entire time I was getting shocked. And then there was no catheter, so I had to hold it in the whole time. So I stopped drinking water.
3 days?
It was the worst, by the way. And then I had to get my mouth up, spit the water out. And an arc of electricity hit the water, went inside, bruised my heart wall, burnt all the way down to my toes. And for 3 months, I couldn't do anything.
Moving forward, I would say that's part of it, like risk assessment. How badly will this hurt me, and how badly does it look like it's hurting? Because it should be more.
I think I have it backwards.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I think for sure.
Well, David, thank you so much for hanging out. I'm glad that we got to finally chat outside of.
Thank you.
Outside of one of your tricks.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, very cool.
Are you going to watch the show tonight?
Absolutely.